Okay, let's get into some timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly. So, I'm Sean Bond. This is Lucidity in this dream. Reality Warping 101, How to Quantum Jump. So, a little bit about me. Oh, and just so you know, if you're listening to this or watching this, I'm emitting free spiritual upgrades and DNA codes. So to those that want it, I recommend watching all the way through. You'll get a lot. Even if you don't recognize exactly what's going on or the information, your higher self will integrate it and you will become more. So, going into this, I was born in Delaware. I went to Del Tech for business, kind of got out of that because not really my thing, but it helped. I love to travel, found out how to psychic track places of power, and been to Egypt, Scotland, Sri Lanka, Mount Shasta, Germany, many places in between, and plan to keep on traveling and exploring and loving life. This world does not have certifications for what I do. The lost wisdom, a retrieval kind of concept I'm going into, is going into the library of DNA records light held in magnetized wormholes that records everything that's ever happened to you, and your DNA lineage ancestry memories recorded, and then that as a supercomputer accessible. And I teach others how to do this, and so you can come to me if you want to learn how to do that. I've been hired as an assistant to the president and CEO of Next Software Food Distribution, and I work with Chris Sinatra, the quantum businessman. I've also been certified as a massage therapist artist. I learned how to DNA program, got into learning time and space physics, and then learned how to repair that for a person's timeline into existence to get rid of things that want to take them in a whole nother direction that they don't want to do in self-defeating programs, and then get them in alignment with the path they choose. I am a psionic specialist. Psionics is a fancy military term for their accumulation of knowledge and wisdom throughout the ages for psychic abilities. I don't really like the word psychic because it's been associated with things that scientism, skepticism has called quackery. So I like to dance around their trigger words. Superhuman abilities in the accumulation the military has, so anyone that says this isn't real, go talk to the military. Reiki Master I've also been certified in, and craniosacral, therapeutic pain releasal, negative emotion release. I have gotten really popular for learning how to release pain from people over a distance, so I don't need to even be there, and I can help people with debilitating back pain, chronic and acute pain issues in really any form. Headache, really good at, even to the bone pain, which is harder, and I'd rather be in person for that. I am also the founder of psionicleague.com, which is a forming group of like-minded people to bring this out to the world and empower in every way. I also have been hired by Earth Mother to protect the planet from incursions in the timeline, and I communicate with other beings of this nature in the timeline protective collective consciousness. And if you want to know more about that, contact me. Who am I? Well, I like that word, I am. Anything I add on to that word makes me less myself. I am that, I am that, I am that. Anything I want to look at, I see as myself in the energetic form of everything emanating back to source of all energy and consciousness. I am everyone. You and I are a fractal of source and all energy and consciousness, experiencing itself as the universe expands, grows, and free will, learning to be the next level of creators. I was born into a Christian family with missions in my heart to unite all religions and spirituality. As I've gone into them and saw all the divide in the world and the problems that form from that divide, and are seeking to find ways to bring them together in communication, even if it's just in my mind, to find the things that separate them, the dogmas, the misdirection, the taking off with the religion in different ways than it originally had in values. I've had many types of experiences, many dreams, crazy, long dreams that are mind-blowing to me, going back to it. like compressed time for years somewhere else and just waking up just like, oh, I guess that was a dream. Had also been engaged in out-of-body experiences, astral travel, flying around. It's quite fun. Then I went into this form of technology called consciousness time travel, which some schools of abilities already go into that are fairly mainstream, like Reiki 2 goes into sending healings back in time to yourself and releasing the wound that keeps reoccurring in the temporal field of quanta of the hologram, so you don't have to hold on to the wounds anymore. But even going past that to like physical matter and the emanation of things in existence that permeate through time. Looking how that works. And picking up memory, especially, like going back to points in time and see what went on. The fun thing that I like to do. I also had lots of dreams of training abilities and learning how to fly and teleport and portals and levitating objects, and it's quite fun and then learning how to eventually piece together what it takes to do it in this dream, because it definitely takes more focus and rules and foundational work based on all the wounds that have happened to this dream in the past that allows the scrutiny of who's allowed to use abilities here now being like, oh, you got to protect this stuff, otherwise it screws up the future. Temporal dilations, condensed time consciousness, kind of like if you were to imagine someone go to sleep and they end up dreaming for what appears to be like years or even beyond that, and then them come back into that time space as if it wasn't that long. Compressed time or temporal dilations goes into that manner. So most of my experience comes from that, in downloading into my mind ages of mind, emotions, spirit, into this DNA technology body that I have. I've had many light experiences in the unlocking DNA and spiritual nature, interacting in telepathy. There's many things that go in and around the mind technology. The voices of the mind can be the ego, the parasympathetic nervous system, the spirit, the higher self, the functions of personality, alter personalities, as well as things in your environment, empathically concepts where you pick up mental thought forms from other people, as well as going into learning how to actually communicate through the heart in energy that's translated. A lot of my soul family came and visited me at different times and started teaching me all these things. I also learned how to unlock many types of abilities, how to reverse engineer things, and we'll be going into that further. Learned how to communicate with my source in my heart, connected to the source of all creation, and that's so brilliant. I recommend it greatly, as well as angels, ETs. I also had dragons come to me. Yeah, they're somehow real. It's so dramatic how it happened to me. I cannot even be in the space anymore where I don't believe they exist because of the experiences I've had. Unlocking that Kundalini force, oh man. First one was quite excruciating, and then got extremely activating, but after that I was able to figure out what was going on and help it rise in empowerment in the body. Anyone's going through that, I can help you with that. Learned how to also unlock the magic in oneself, which I usually just call manifesting direct to this timeline energy. If you're able to do that, that's magic. Rainbows forming after me finding out about myself more deeply, and like rain just appearing out of nowhere, and weird thunderstorms and other messages that kind of got me to more push towards knowing myself. So I also had many dark experiences that I would not wish upon my worst enemy, but have taught me many things and made me very strong to those experiences ever happening again, and me being able to help people through that, such as a demonic attack, possessions, me learning how to depossess something attempting to possess me, as well as help depossess others, which is interesting when it happens, but it's extremely overwhelming and fear-based. So be careful. But know that you are powerful beyond what they want to project in fear to shut you down. And that's the game of it. You can overcome it greatly by compressing out and forcing anything that's coming into your body out. And you have the right to protect your space, your body, and who you are. It is your sovereign, righteous, balanced, non-karmic ability to protect your space. And anything that incurs in it, do what you need to. I've also been through torturous pain of different types, like sensually, like everything turned up empathically, being able to feel things incredibly deeply, and then my body being programmed to absorb negative energy, and then it condensed to where I feel a large amount of pain and suffering from others. I've had attempted assassinations on my life, things trying to stop my heart and organs, and had to learn how to counteract that. Advanced psionic attack from different beings, and learn how to track those back and then stop them. Huge weight on my shoulders. I've also had to deal with learning who I am, what I'm here to do, the missions, what is this planet, and what we're up against. I've been hired by Earth as a healer and also a bounty hunter. I learned that after the beings started showing up, for multidimensional predators that are trying to screw things up on this planet, trying to make it worse than it needs to be. I learned how to psionically punch things after I got attacked for a while from a distance to defend myself at first, and then eventually I learned combining that with healing and turned it into an emotional love-based action that brings any being attacking me to be able to turn their emotional body on and their love, and then they stop doing the bad behavior. That's much better to any type of negative energy that comes your way. They've forgotten their light, so that they're light, but you can make their light grow bigger and remember who they are. So going more into my childhood, had many different interesting dreams, went sometimes back in time and did things and experienced, learned stuff, and it went and put me down more rabbit holes of discovery. Astral travel, talking to imaginary friends as a kid, having many different types of visions, imaginative creating of like worlds in my mind. I couldn't quite know fully what I was doing, but I had it in my mind based on dreams that happened to me that I continued to play with in my imagination as a kid, where I would start this like city, zoo, planet kind of thing where we're breeding extinct animals and dinosaurs and dragons, angels, mythical creatures, to bring them back into thriving in dreams and imagination. I had made like a world populated with them. I started to research into problems and me forming solutions for them, like the world state of affairs, climate change, pollution, debt slavery, other things that are going on in the world. I wanted to be an inventor, I shifted that into reverse engineering old wisdom that was lost, and I learned that I could bring it back. I started off very skeptical with all this stuff, and I recommend to do that. Skepticism is very good. It's very healthy. It keeps someone from going into a state of chaos and just believing anything that comes to them, being stable in their reality. Skeptically open is even better, because if you don't have the open, then it's just cynicism. And I was looking for a limitation and ignorance in the world of different subjects, that people just stopped looking to find where the veils were that were keeping people from seeing more of the truth, using key words to unlock doors of wisdom, to go deeper. I started studying science, esoteric biology, quantum physics, field theories, a lot of theoretical physics. Mystical spirit experiences started happening to me that makes me research even more hidden secrets of the world and the self, know thyself, know thy universe, laws of nature. I was starting to learn more about religions, but keeping my spirituality in a free state of being, instead of like boxed down in a certain, oh, you gotta believe this. Started looking into the esoteric beneath the surface that's just scratched by most people. The hidden magic, the occult, as in hidden, a word for hidden information. native spiritual beliefs, truth movement stuff, Wicca. I got into Buddhism, Hinduism, and many of the other types of religions I started looking to find their ancient wisdom and how to work it all together. I was looking to see who the chess players on this planet were, now that I found that it was a chess game of many different grand scales. This forced me to bust past any gatekeepers of knowledge that I ran across. There's many, and because everyone believes they know what truth is, and I'm not here to tell you what truth is. It's literally for everyone to find. I'd get in trouble with my guides if I told you what truth is. Everyone's is a little different, but the grand, deep, objective truth holds all perspectives in oneness and unity. And I started to gather accumulations of truth and proof of these things that I've experienced that others don't find are real, because I felt like I needed to. And I went through all the types of things in the gauntlet of skepticism, skeptics, skeptactyl.com, skeptics.com, all these kind of paid these websites. I love skepticism. I don't like corporate paid hijacked, paid to disprove something skepticism, because that isn't based on truth. It's not even based on what the person wants, it's what they're paid to do. Then I found out there was a suppression for powerful truths, and felt a deep urge in my being, my core, to look past these veils. When I found out about that, I was still deep into science. I had a UFO experience that freaked me out. And the first one I had a lot of dread and fear, and I felt like I was in trouble, and I was like, oh, I need to get inside. Does this thing see me? And it started dancing around, and a helicopter started showing up around it. And then I had a bunch of more experiences after that. So with that, I'd say either the government is lying about what they have and having better propulsion technology than really have, or there are aliens, or both. I'm kind of both. Either way, they lie, and we could have flying cars now and not pay for electricity and that technology. So unequal distribution of wealth and power and freedom, compartmentalized, not shared advanced technology, covert military space program. The establishment seems to be suppressing psionic evidence in videos. They say that this energy is not observable and therefore not science. It is absolutely observable. There's things absolutely that exist. There's hairy old field filters, there's Cohen photography, there's many different spectrums of the electromagnetic spectrum, even beyond what dinosaur mainstream media talks about, that we have the ability to make technology to analyze. And so it seems more that the reasons they want to suppress it is because of the power it brings people. Certain dark chess players on this planet want to accumulate power and keep power out of the hands of ordinary people, so they maintain it. Psionic abilities threaten the power of those that have not truly earned their power by stealing it by force. I have a playlist now of over hundreds of demonstrations of abilities that people have learned and grown. So yes, absolutely it can be faked. And that happens all the time, and people do pranks and things under tables, and it's absolutely a thing people fake. But all you need is one, real one. And I've got examples of hundreds. Please, try to debunk it. I will be putting that playlist out more, but if you want to look it up, it's under Chi, Ether, and Quantum Field Mastery on YouTube. Awakening to this unveiling of truth in the full pie of what is disclosure, what is unveiling of truth, transmuting all the fears that I had so I can go deeper into the pursuit of truth, no matter how scary it is. Going down the rabbit hole, balancing powerful light truths that remind me of how many solutions we have, and adding to my tool belt these solutions to face the dark truths that most will avoid looking at all costs, but are important to solving the problems we face and the negative causations that exist and end suffering. Balancing light and dark truth rabbit holes, so I go back and forth between finding out dark triggery cause of problems and then going to light rabbit hole of empowerment of self to finding solutions. I've had countless mystical experiences, multiple year dreams again, time travel dreams, past life memories that occur, recall into that. Also teach people how to do that themselves. Seeing UFOs, I've been visited. I don't really want to talk about that now yet. Contacts with spirit, got into mediumship. Also had experimenting time in my youth with psychedelics, and that very enlightening, very opening. Got into, when I started talking to spirits, what are spirit guides and my spirit guides, and then went into initiations into their schools and learning from them. Also had negative spiritual incursions, which even pain and suffering is a teacher, but hopefully if you learn the class before that class, you won't need that class. Practicing defense and offense with negative beings attacking. I learned how to make my sword and shield. Me learning how to protect others, which I would witness others getting these things under the guise of like this big headache or them having intense organ pain, and if they went to the hospital, the doctor would say, oh, we need to remove that organ. If they just resolved the issue, the pain would go away. And I help track back that causation and have, on camera, been able to remove it. And I also transmute all negative frequencies in a reality bubble that I go through as I heal the environment, as I walk through it. I also learned how to hack the hologram, which I can help with that too. Here's an example of superhuman abilities. Here's a 84-year-old man at the time in China that is demonstrating advanced Qigong techniques of Qi, yin and yang, push and pull, advanced telekinesis, as over a glass jar as well as a bowl of water, pushing and pulling.
江湖之大是无奇不有啊，水上漂、隔空取物、隔山打牛，这都是我们耳闻已久、无缘目睹的绝技。那近日呢，传说当中的这个隔山打牛重现江湖了。为我们展示的呢是一位84岁的老人邱福义，精彩不容置疑，绝对让您大饱眼福。
这还只是武汉奇人邱福义所练奇功的一小部分，而他
今年84。
别急，这只是前戏，接下来的更精彩。
把这皮子打破。
接下来是隔空移物。这也太神了！难道你有特异功能？
我说我不是神，我没有功夫。
可究竟是怎么做到的呢？
这叫内气外放，外气内收。比方说这么一下去，内气它东西呢，一种气场，达到生物效应，它的走力就把它推倒了。
邱老见我们还意犹未尽，就又来了一手硬功夫。而且邱老不单会气功，还是个非常有名的老中医呢。
今年71年的医生了，
现在秋老一门心思都花在行医上，而气功也只是他锻炼身体的手段罢了。不过，秋老，您锻炼身体的方式也太特别了吧
Imagine, if you will, the planet awakening and experiencing a shift of consciousness so great that governments around the world conduct psychological warfare on their own citizens in an attempt to control them by lowering their vibrations, keeping them in a constant state of fear. Like, people think I'm crazy because I talk to dragons. What am I supposed to do when they ask me things? Ignore them? And dragons are elemental programmers of reality. They aren't the exact same thing we have in our mythos, but they have had DNA technology manifest. They're mostly in extinction. They do not need a body. If you can dream about them, see them in astral, and even experience them in like unlocked states of consciousness, like through DMT or other things, but they will also appear to you energetically and speak to you if they see you of value. Some people, like a fair little amount, like maybe like 12% or 14% of the population, have some of their DNA. And that goes into reality programming, an elemental hierarchy of an entire 5 elemental spectrum: fire, earth, air, water, ether, in one body or residual image form that deserves respect. And then I got into DNA programming. Apsu is a game that soft disclosed on this concept of little places of power that one can activate that will increase the fertility and expression of animals around the environment. Sometimes even spawning little deviants in evolution in the genetic lineage that breeds and allows extinct species that are recorded in the DNA of that species to come back out again, such as through plants or even things that we've seen where extinct species are coming back. The truther community, there's a lot of different spectrums of what people believe they are. It's absolutely getting hijacked, just like everything else. But looking at all angles of perspective is how you see truth. Going into the core of what the movement is to spread truth, even if some of the users have dogmas. They still want to find what is true, which is one of the most important things. Also, spirituality is a little different than religion to me. Religion in its etymology means relegare, to tie back or hold or bind, to box and suppress spirituality to an okay level. But as one looks at all the religions in the world and brings them together in unity again in themselves and expands into their freedom of what they want to do and believe and seeks that truth, they will expand faster than any religion will provide for them. And here's a video on another example of superhuman abilities with telekinesis. And yes, white people can do it too, not just Qigong masters that have been in caves and doing martial arts for years and years and years. So anyone can do it.
Pull back. Hey. Hey. Only once.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Vinland.
不过呢，今天感冒了，对。
As a part of my journey, I had to learn how to put myself back together. I had a big event that expressed itself in the shattering of my spirit into millions of pieces in a torturous trauma, extreme anxiety, constant overwhelm after that point, soul trauma, sack, and spiritual attack that forced me into a make-or-break moment that got me to remembering who I am and forcing me into enough action to learn how to outcreate everything that was going on against me. I had this thing where an abused, stolen authority of abilities, stolen from ancient versions of myself, like a pocket dimension prison was one time put around me for a while and then condensed me in that space for years. And that broke me. Then I eventually learned how to pick myself back up in that and escape, and then my mind got out of that, and then I went to experience this heavenly realm place of like healing and rehabilitation, and that was nice. That was like a dream. That it was just like light was everywhere, and it just was wanting to be a part of the experience, and this is full love, refueling my being, making everything go faster to prepare me for what I was going to do next in this reality, to balance the scales from the deep, dark experience that I had with the event. I found that parts of myself had been divided out in many bodies of experience, and I had to learn how to tune into them and feel into emotions that were coming to me and where they were coming from, and resolve them at a causation, and then unify myself. Unification of soul shards. Soul shard retrieval is a shamanic term for bringing yourself to wholeness. The soul is a fragile matrix of light that can be fractured through trauma and abuse, and things can be stolen or whatever. It depends on what happens. And you can retrieve those parts of yourself. Also goes into power retrieval, retrieving your power that you've had before that you felt you lost or is lacking from your life. Bring yourself to wholeness again. The spirit, the soul parts, light, the hologram, all have like interesting aspects to this, to bring yourself to a whole state of being. Learning from where they have been, unifying that aspect of myself, becoming immune to what was forcing its will upon me, and then redirecting it back and purifying it for a state of empowerment. Being taught by light, neutral, and dark to learn how to unify the planet and protect it with spiritual martial arts, kind of like how old native tribes and shamans would work with their tribe in like a war drumming ceremony that would empower them to take on any challenge and even push out any darkness in the area through music and motion and expression and belief and all these combinations of things that they come together in unity to empower their DNA technology for an action and a purpose. I remember, and so can you. I don't remember everything. I don't want to remember everything. It's very overwhelming. It comes with a lot of emotions. But I'm very tapped into memory, and I've been continuing down the school of that and integrating more and more and more, faster and faster. And I have the ability to sit into memory and retrieve it very quickly, easily. Memory is recorded by the body in many ways. Physically, DNA, bones record the data fractally. It's kind of the concept of like clay, and how like when you're rotating it while playing music, the sound waves fractally change the structure of the clay as it forms and hardens. Same technology used in records to create sound. That data is retrievable if we have the advanced technology to do so in any matter. as well as light with optic cables that records and magnetized wormholes held by the DNA, and our light field that emits light in infrared. Our magnetic field also contains a spectrum of memory, demonstrated by like when astronauts first went out into space and they started losing their memory and going insane, and they had to make a device that permeates the natural Schumann resonance of the planet to keep people sane when they went off planet. Same effect, like the magnetic field is important, frequency is important in how we retain data. The Akashic record field is a Sanskrit word for the base of reality that holds and records everything that's happened in this space. It's just a fancy way of saying an etheric library that one can tap into with their DNA. The source field also holds memory, which, the source of all energy in a stream of light connecting all things. Kind of definitely gonna have that. And like we said previously, elemental of all types of matter will form a type of memory. Superconsciousness, it holds your source, earth, your higher self, your infinite fetus that knows what you're gonna do this lifetime. Your goal into gaining a lot of memory back is connecting the superconsciousness to the superconsciousness is in the heart, the consciousness is in the head, and the subconscious is usually in the gut, but it's pretty much the whole body. That's the tape recorder. And you have to bring them all together and merge them and release everything that is keeping them from holding them back from flowing that awareness and knowingness like a wellspring of data in a relaxed state of consciousness, preferably alpha, theta, brainwave, deep trance meditation, ability to go deep into the self concepts and let go of everything in the overwhelming data that we're receiving at any given time that's hitting the emotional body and keeping it from being able to translate. You also have to release blocks, amnesia barriers, forgetting, veils, scramblers, and endless distractions that want to be with the purpose of keeping us from ever remembering who we are. Knowing what the game is, the chess match of humanity, and the great awakening to free the planet. I hope you are all in this here for also freeing the planet as well as yourself. What else is there to do? That was long. Distractions. Memory. Examples of where you can retrieve memory from. You can retrieve it from your dream. There's a lot of things that get in our way of our downloading the energy that comes from an extension of ourself that went out to experience a dream realm that comes back to the body and tries to download it in. And there's a lot of things in the ego and other parts of the body through trauma and other stuff that keep us from fully integrating that memory, so it's why it's easy to forget our dreams when we wake up. You can also retrieve memory from astral, out-of-body experiences. Astral is just a fancy way of saying your spirit form if you lose your body in that type of realm. Bilocation, form of light, forking your consciousness to exist simultaneously somewhere else. Something people are doing sometimes, whether they know it or not. It doesn't require them to know it. It's more of for the mission of their higher self, for why they're here, and if they want to engage, then that's their higher self ready to share with them. Past lives, and those are fun. Integrating that into the deep puzzle of all aspects of who you are, what you've accumulated, and aspects of yourself to be here now to make this advanced chess move that changes the future and lasts through history. Other versions of yourself. Not all lives of yourself are past. If you were to see a tree, and if you, at some points in lives, you advance very fast, very quickly, you eventually get the ability to make more of yourself and put those in more games. Imagine, like Sense8, that show on Netflix. Soft disclose into the concept that simultaneous existing selves around the planet can eventually link up consciously and talk to one another and form together what they're here to do and share skills that they've learned pretty instantly. There's also dilations, which goes into the temporal compression of if you've been somewhere else and be here in this time as if you never left, as well as visitations, if people want to go into that, and multidimensional aspects of themselves that are going throughout the world doing things. If you don't know what your higher self is good at, and flowing into that, then it will be like retrieving what your greater self is already doing while you're in the process of waking up. And if you want to remember more, contact me at Psionic League. So I reverse engineer abilities. The way I do this is the body emits biophotonic energy that is a blueprint of everything you hold in your DNA. And it also gives you a synopsis of the person. And these can also travel through what's recorded in data in a photo of a person, because the light is captured. This biophotonic quantum supercomputer body scans the blueprints of abilities demonstrated previously and records it. I pick up that to-do list through my ability to read internal books and data in my DNA library to go into a to-do list of how to form the new ability. And I also go through mystery schools internally for that ability, which is like you going into a flow of the source of the knowledge and information and being taught by it, whether it be through a guide or the information coming right into your head. You getting inspiration or thought is like a slow way of seeing this. Knowingness, downloading, translations, doing what it takes to make it so, and many more is how I get to the core of the goal of the ability and what it takes to form it. As an example in these slides, epigenetics is a form of you taking the driver's wheel of your genetics, realizing it's not just a random events, these DNA changes, and that you can change your own DNA through sound, light, vibration, words, intention, emotion. Many different types of energy, cosmic energy changes DNA, Schumann resonance. So many things can affect our DNA, especially if we have a goal and intention and we see what it needs and takes to unlock it and the keys. Also going into types of energy, we have different types of energy bodies that I call as a filing system way of categorizing the technology we have, such as dreaming body, astral body, etheric body, mental body, emotional body, all that kind of ways to describe something that you can narrow down to what that is specifically and then start working on to make it better. And by the way, I have this torus going on in all the screens that I have, and I put that in specifically so that by the end of this, you will be able to memorize what it takes to steer a tornado. The torus is a magnetic field concept into a way to generate a large amount of energy. Our hearts have a huge magnetic field and a bunch of smaller ones that go around the organs. Being able to come into awareness of this and flow with it and bring into great energetic output increases a lot of mystical experiences, intuition, and data collection. Platonic solids in the sacred geometry is a great way to go into abilities as well. If it has a geometry and etheric space, it can hold information and memory. And you can create with it in programming for your body or your reality. And I also have the matrix thing that goes into like you can manifest anything you need if you have the right operating system. As an example of some of the abilities I teach, I am a healer, so I got into advanced quantum energy healing of the fractal layer of frozen light hologram of a person and bringing it to greater order and health. Got into reading DNA, the spirit, and the Akashic record. I learned reverse engineering abilities, remote viewing, military program absolutely exists, psychic tracking, the police hire people to do this for finding lost people. Telepathy, I teach people how to do hard telepathy, and it goes into a deeper form of different bandwidths on the station. Vision work and journeying. Lucid dreaming, I help people with that. bilocating during dreams, so you can see yourself shift in and out of different dreams at once. Internal nexus point of the third eye, being able to go into all the doors in the mind and consciousness and DNA and internal mystery schools. Advanced body diagnostics, to see what's going on in the body and if there's anything that needs your attention. DNA programming and healing, telekinesis, as well as using the force, magic, reality warping, divinity path, energy, if one wants to go into that, and many, many more, which I'll cover in slides. Some of the images, as an example, I prefer this periodic table to what science has, because it goes into the sine wave of elements going back and forth between base and acidic, all the way up in transformation, and it allows for a better understanding of how transmutation works. So here's what we're all for, the Mandela effect. How I got into this. I read into Mandela effects in their causation and their meaning. My experience with them is mostly personal ones, like changes of objects around and places, and me being like, oh, wasn't that there before? Or in that neighborhood, oh, that's completely different. Me just brushing aside usually until I found out more about this kind of thing. In my childhood, the neighborhood changed when I went back to it. Houses changed, but like a little bit more than that. Like the meadow was gone, the forest wasn't there, and I was like, did I make that up? And then also things like when big things happened, the room around me, I would get to detach from the rest of the hologram, becoming kind of in a hidden space. I did hidden in time and space. I did this to protect me from beings that were attacking me in spirit. I was like, I was figuring out how they knew about me and how they were able to find me if they're doing it from a distance. And then I learned how to cut that off and go into camouflage, and the attacks cease, the emotions disperse, the anxiety, the pain go away. And then I learned how to steer it like a ship, becoming extremely sensitive to emotions and translating that data, clearing up the timeline and up and down, micro, macro, and training my way up through the school of consciousness timeline travel. A stranger's cat is another example of that concept of quantum observer effect, and what we see and don't see. What we see is more anchored in time. What's out of our reference and frame of sight or senses is more up to being changed. My name is Bond, Sean Bond. Here's a meme going into a change having to do with the movies for 007 or James Bond into Dolly, where she used to have braces and now somehow she doesn't. And there was a whole joke that I remember having to do with the braces that doesn't make any sense right now. So it's a little concerning about that, but when I read into it, it seems like a better timeline change. Teeth. For me, in my experience with teeth, I used to have agonizing, even without cavities, pain of the nerves just flaring up to like torturous levels, and that would not go away for days, and nothing I did or took in medicine would make it go away. So that kind of forced me to learn how to release pain, and until I actually did that stuff, it would not go away, but it would go away when I worked on it energetically enough, which is interesting. It forced me to learn all these different methods to release a large amount of pain. Time. Okay. So teeth are like indications of your timelines. Everything you've ever eaten has touched your teeth and gone into the makeup of your hologram. So they touch every atom that goes into the making of you in the atomic field. They're like time crystals. They condense a lot of that in a filing system that you can observe and if you're getting teeth pain, it'll usually mean time incursions, and that you can clear your timeline and that pain will start going away. So the timeline change having to do with Dolly is that the braces come off, that the timeline is much more pure, much more in order, and these are indicated by little changes in the existing structures of the timeline, such as what the movie had in effect to change in it. So her teeth are better than they were in the previous timeline. It's about 5 times, this represents macroly, where 5 times more secrets come out to the public than on the previous timeline. Going into the concept of James Bond and secret agent and spy missions that the public never hears about, as an example. And that's traded for the joke not making sense and it being pointed out on the reality change. And there being residual bleed over still existing. I've also had the sky changing rapidly, time skips, loss of time. It's been really weird. I've also had the humanitarian mission to help the planet grow and flourish. The Mandela effect is an ability in reality warping that goes into doing just that for either light or the dark. Large amounts of time I've put into the ability to manifest, training how to release fertility blockages and wounds in the DNA, keeping a species from thriving more and breeding and being able to have more numbers out in the world in my attempt to bring those beings back from the brink of extinction. Consciousness time travel, so some animals thought to have been extinct, boom, back. Some examples of the image on these slides. Blue bees, I love them and I hope they're more into flourishing. Whales are making a big rebound. The Tasmanian tiger is now not extinct anymore and has been seen once again. The Mandela effect for tigers, somehow they have a white spot on their ear that just seems weird when you look at it. But they're also rebounding. They're having more numbers, which I've absolutely been a part of the collective into that because I love tigers. I remember Jiffy, so it's kind of weird to see it as Jif now. So, and then there's a bunch more examples like the Berenstain Bears and many other examples people have had. Types of jumping ceremonies, as long as it's a sacred activity and you love doing it, it's can be gone into combination with quantum jumping. Dancing is a really good way, singing, vision work, feeling deeply, casting spells, meditation, yoga, yoga, exercise, sexuality, dreaming, astral travel, ceremony of different types, movement, stillness, being present. Doing what you love is the best way for you to create magic. Make your own structures of sacred actions. Make a better spiritual version of every action you do in ceremony. Brushing your teeth, waking up in the morning, all these are actions that we're going to constantly use. Bring Psiox into this in some way. Like I turn my toothbrush into a way that cleans my timeline every time I do it. As an example. Another forms that you can bring into this is like when you're reaching out for a timeline you want to bring in, lassoing it in or harpooning, anchoring in, pulling in that timeline, and having that in your trajectory going forth, no matter what anything wants to make your trajectory. How to quantum jump. First step, quantum unentanglement. Detachment is the process of enlightenment in India and in Tibet. To achieve light body and transformation into the rainbow body and dragon body, Buddha body, which is essentially them mastering past death and continuing in immortal, a beyond immortal state. Unmanifest, remanifest body in light somewhere else. And there's many examples of this that have been recorded. Detach from old timeline. habit patterns, energy, program, emotion, personality traits, interpretation of events with emotion. Detach from these. You can detach and unify at the same time. To do this, it's like you know what you're detaching from, which is separation consciousness, what's not you, what you're ready to let go of, things that are imprinting on you, non-unity, non-love, and going into the center of your heart, embracing unity consciousness in love and the rest of the universe or source. It's kind of like becoming the fullest, purest version of yourself deep within by letting go of the 99 added stuff, shedding the old skin, or becoming the butterfly. Detach separation consciousness, embrace the unity consciousness in center of the heart, source connection. Detach observer effect to empower garden of all potentialities to have a output. Schrodinger's cat box jumping ship. How about you guys? Is that how you remember the spelling of Schrodinger? To me, it looks a little weird. Either way. So you form your own Schrodinger's cat box. Detach your bubble of reality. House, room, if you're in the bath or your bed, meditation chamber, whatever you're using, from what is beyond the horizon of the seen to unseen. Steer that ship course of reality bubble to the direction of the destination, making leaps, bounds, and jumps till you reach your goal. And some of the things into this, the cat in the box, is it alive or dead? You won't know until you open the box, because the observer can change the outcome of the experiment. And that's within all possibilities and our ability to bring forth more likelihood of the possibility we want to see. Go back to the realm of all potentials, void, womb space of all creation, time streams, network of all potential timelines. Every choice point, every decision, every possibility, mirrored, branching tree of time bubbles, center point, you being all of them. Detach previously held potentials you don't want to anchor to you. Center into the infinite of all potentials as if you are charging up for whatever you want. Clearing the quantum field of all potentials in resistance to what you want. Clear, resolve evil, unbalanced, self-defeating potentials, and bring peace to all of them. Bringing into focus of infinite potential of whatever you want to do, what it takes to become that in unity, what it takes to become true. All the options creating, all the fractals of source of all energy, full spectrum light, creating as many things as possible, to learn as much as possible, to know thyself and the universe, free will, all of creation backing you. Bubble holding streams, all connecting in Indra's web. Find the reality timeline you wish to be on. Imagine creating space in the creational womb. A TV screen that allows the image to flow and appear without you forcing it. Vision board gets into helping amplify vision if it's not as strong, or if there's wounds in the imagination that happened to us as we're growing from being a kid. As a programmer, a reminder, vision boards help you every day know what your goal is and then put it into your subconscious and help you manifest it. Releasing expectations that want to force or control what manifests. If you release expectations, that goes into allowing the possibility that there's an even better potential in unity. And being that reality you want and cultivating that. See the paradise in the future that could be, and make that as HD as possible in your mind and give it understanding, and then bridge that understanding of what that goal takes to get there, so that unfolds in your knowingness, so you're living that action daily and emanating that change out into the world, being the change you want to see. Be the new timeline and detach from the old. Feel into what is truth in moment and held in the hologram in time, which might contain the nightmare of things that we don't want to be, which brings us to want to change or want to change things. Feel into the pressure of the negative, undesired timeline. Feel that weight on the heart. Release as you breathe slowly, deeply, to full pressure in your lungs. You may hold this for around, or more or less, around 13 seconds is good as an example, but as long as you can without harming yourself. To give pressure of what is needed to transform and let go of. Pressurizing the chi and the oxygen in your lungs, distributing to the rest of your body to empower it, and to even create a stimulation of an altered state of consciousness that can only be accessed in creating light in that deep breath work. The quantum observer effect, going into that, and how you can change the outcomes by what you observe. Focus on the imagined timeline. Be one with the timeline merge. Wholeness, oneness. Focus on it until full confidence in the release of the old and all doubt that you hold that it's not there anymore. Detach and reclaim stolen energy supporting negative control systems of their timeline of, like, as an example, debt slavery, continuation, oppression, depopulation, or whatever. Imagine full and create paradise, heaven, utopia on earth, and what that feels like, and get inspirations on how to bring that closer. As an example of back and forth. And once you have your vision of what to create, next to work on is foundational energy. Foundation is very important. As in the slide, if the building is strong but the foundation is weak, it doesn't really matter. It will still mess up its existence in the future. Similar to like a pyramid and how strong it is and lasting through time. Having a strong base that supports it. Building up from that. There's going into founders of things, of energy, of consciousness, of places and territory, and the authority that goes with that. Strong foundation, earning, strong foundation. You have an actual form of energy in the root going into this, and building that up in consciousness and energy and compression to where it can support greater levels of consciousness that you accumulate. Foundation of the new timeline is what you're creating. Strong. Foundational energy, what I've found, is usually a combination of source energy, love, and holistic full spectrum root energy, all combined to one. Forms base reality and other founder realms for this earth, and like her coming into existence and making from the ground up what would be in the space. Safety energy, you can go into this through 0 point of creation healing at its origin and source, and giving it what it needs, usually like love and wholeness. There's an elder version of yourself in soul, like the higher self kind of thing, but going back, that you can work with an ancient soul family in unity and learn from them and how to get better at foundational energy from foundational teachers. So as an example, to grow a good structure, it needs a strong foundation, strategy, objectives, structure, system, process, action. Even negative structures need a strong foundation to be able to last through time, such as the structures that are built up off the backs of people for this society. Will it into being is a ability into the willpower you have in your solar plexus, your center point, your sun, that can shine brightly or dim, based on how you feel in your free will and your willpower to do what you want to do this life and not letting that be taken by others. It has a form of energy, and you can accumulate it to where it's a great strength. You'll see this in people with big wills and determination, dedication, and action-oriented people. Will harvesting system removals, there's a lot of things that want to steal our energy, and as you remove those, then you get more accumulating. Put will towards your manifestation. The solar plexus is your internal star, how bright it is, and it can actually be represented by how real stars work in color spectrum, from like black, brown, red, orange, all the way up to like really white and blue, being very energetic. As an example of how you shine deep within. You don't want to force it to be a color, you want to actually read what it represents in factuality of what you feel, and then work on it being better. It can actually burn your negative programs as like firewood and use that to strengthen it. Throw the blocks into the sun. Different types of will. There's your I am will, which is the perceiver, the conscious being of the spirit, your will. Your ego's will, which may be a little different. The ego is what you believe you are this lifetime, the survival mechanisms that keep you going. It's very self-defeating programs we've inherited from our DNA though. The higher self will, the Earth's will, Source's will, infinite fetus's will, the contracts for experience you have this lifetime, and the unity collective will all together, and what they're working towards. You can create unity will agreement portals in energy towards desired outcome. I go into portals in other presentations, so I don't have to really go into that here. But it's a way gate that allows things to travel through it like energy, and it's much easier to create energetic ones in the unseen. But they can be, and they have physically. There are unity will expanding light tracks through all united sources and bringing them together, feeling them. Bringing polarized will to balance, being will and what it takes to become truth. Power, empowerment, like an expanding, burning power, starlight power, pulse, ember, flame. It's also in your solar plexus. Power energy generator fountains, turning those on, well springs in the star. What is your source of power? Going deep into that, not being afraid. One of the biggest things we fear is that we're more powerful than we could ever imagine. And going deep into facing that fear will go into you embracing more of your power and the responsibility that comes with it, so that you can either, use it for good or the other way. You usually lose it though if you're doing it for negative purposes. You can also revisit powerful incarnations you've had and re-merge with them and bring them into the now. Power amplifying DNA lineages that go into what we've inherited through our ancestry and its technology, and activating that. Places of power all around. Going to these places, we seek them out. Mountains, journeys, vision quests, they add greatly to our life, and more so in the unseen, what we know, what we're getting from those places. There are also those types of places of power in dream that you can go to in astral, and that adds the Kundalini dragon force power. That is a energy current that comes up from the earth's heart, goes into the root, and stimulates a part of your own consciousness to rise a frequency of current to your cranium to empower all your neurons and increase mental power. You bring these up like currents of energy, and there's ones for different types. You can have small little Kundalini activations, or you can have big ones that explode many currents all at once. It's part of you and earth, and the snake symbolism, you don't have to be afraid of. It's just a representation of the movement that it goes in up the spine. Superpowers, those are fun. Another good, more accurate way to describe what superpowers are the word wholeness powers. So when you bring a power in yourself to full wholeness, especially when it's a very advanced ability, then it will be known as a superpower that you're able to hold, maintain, and keep going and train to be better. It has to do with your own ability, awareness, state of being, consciousness, manifestation, being now. One of these is from the recent protests. As an example of power, power comes from unity. If you were to examine the people that claim to have power or in darkness and separate them and put them in a room by themselves, what power do they really have without other people? to control or influence or dominate. So it's an illusion, that type of power, and it only goes through the consent of those other people. And real power comes from the unity of multiple states of consciousness agreeing towards one focus. This is what propelled all of our society. Next layer to amplify your quantum jump is going into magic. Not magic with the C, but magic with a K. It's how you search for real magic through the muck of tricks. It's a neutral tool of super manifestation. It's the user that makes it light, neutral, or dark. Most of the surviving magical texts now are external magic, though. They don't really go into your internal magic as much. And they're also mostly neutral and dark because of the corrupted society, the destruction of wisdom teachers, and how the mystery schools have come today. But the technology and awareness they bring out is still valuable. All dark can be transmuted into light, because it is just lack of light, with balance and understanding, not to impose on the free will of others, and be aligned with natural law, which is observable and can always come back to, which is like the golden rule. Do no harm, but take no shit. Protect your rights. The divine feminine aspects and the divine masculine, to not harm others and protect yourself. Do not harm goes into do not steal, do not take life, all these different spectrums. Seeing yourself as the other being. People that have cut off themselves from seeing that and gone into ego have taken it into a dark state of being. Part of the process for quantum jumping is gathering enough magic and energy to perform and manifest a desired outcome. Charging up that magic in an activity that you've created, such as a ceremony or ritual, and a magic eruption from yourself, or like how the external magic brings up from other places, explosion force. Releasing blocks is one of the ways how you increase your magic. The magic body mostly is blocked in most people, but some people it's pouring a little bit of units of energy every now and again. And sometimes we have guides as well that help support us. You'll find blocks, lessons having to do with abuse from it in the past. There are generators for magic in the body, mostly in the solar plexus. For those that want to unlock their magic body, please see me. I can help with that. Everyone's dealing with different things. A lot of these are examples like magic blocks, lessons we have to go through based on abuses we've done with it in the past. Magic does not want to be used to harm people, and the light and neutral aspect will stop working with the being when they start abusing it and doing harm. Generators are in the body. There are also places of power that we can go to, like well springs and plumbing of magical energy that springs up from the Earth's heart. These will be coming more online as Earth is coming out of the state where she took a big wound, had to go in a little bit of a coma for a bit, and in the dark ages, and then came out of that as if she's healing herself, and we're cells of her healing ourselves, healing her healing us. And as she is able to rise back into her power, more of these places of power will activate, as well as grid workers will go and activate them for her, and more magic will return to the world. There are also places of power for magic in dream and astral, of course, and then crystals you can find that are specifically good for magic. There's a rare different types. Not all crystals are good for this, but they are good for learning things that you want to program them. Some are better at other tasks than others, but you can teach any one of them to learn something. They record everything that's happened around them, terabytes of data. It's all our technology, TV, computers, silicone chips. Radio is a crystal. It gains its power from a crystal with a copper wire wrapped around it with intense pressure to create piezoelectric effect. It makes it emit more of a frequency. There are objects of power also that exist. You can find them. Some are in museums and have been created by advanced sculptors or smiths. And there are also those in the energetic form that you can find in dream. Creating psionic amplifiers. There are these devices the military have created, as well as devices inventors have found to increase our energetic field and our health and how well we perform. Those will all go into amplifying these states as well. Objects of power, like magic amplifiers. As an example of this, if you were to find a tree hit by lightning, that tree would have taken the energy throughout its entire being and then locked that in as a form of power, intensely amplifies any energy that flows through it, and you can use that as like a wand or a staff, as an example. There's also going into magic circles or using sacred geometry, sigil magic, creating light in your mind and forming things with that, and overlaying that with the body are examples. Whatever sacred activity you can go, you can introduce magic into it, especially when your current, your wellspring of energy is flowing and you're producing a certain amount of units of magic an hour or second, whatever. Use the Force, Luke. This goes into things that have been soft disclosed in our culture having to do with the Force, things that make things happen, move. This goes into another form of reality warping with it. Ways to do this: meditation, breath work, dance, emotional intensity, vision quest journeying can amplify your Force energy. It's also in the solar plexus as its own thing. It's mostly, you'll see it work in telekinesis and actually like positive, negative, neutral forms of force, like we know about the negative form that where somebody is forced against their will kind of thing. But that's an example of energy that's going through a person's body and bringing them into action. It can be, again, like in the Jedi and the Sith concept, neutral, positive, and negative. It's a tool, and based on the user, how it's used. Jedi soft disclosure, the training involved in that, very well spoken. Included Baby Yoda in there, so hope that gives me points. You have a Force body, there's mystery schools, there's missions you can do for more increase in your activations. Missions for like Earth as an example, you can ask what she wants to increase your Force. Solar Force, Galactic Force, Universal, you can unite with all these flows of the universe, become one with them, reach out, grab them as if you can touch them and feel deeply into them, be them. Retrieving stolen Force power generators, a very sought after energy, which is why your abilities get shut down if you're having your abilities stolen. So if you're able to protect it, it's able to increase. Why power retrieval? Parts and energy reclaiming, parts of consciousness, be the Force. There's also rare DNA lineages that you can open and activate to this. The mitochondria are a soft disclosed concept in Star Wars, the metachlorian cover. This also covers concepts of microflora that are very energized batteries that you can unify with, like elemental bacteria that have learned how to eat and make different types of elemental matter a part of their being, and that go into their form of energy that they have flow through their being that you can sync together. There are Force energy generators, of course, Force placed power, Force guides that you can talk to. Qigong goes into this, energy storage, bringing all that energy into Dantian of Yang and Yin Qi together in unity. That like brings forth the telekinesis, the Force. Big Qi. Little Qi is organs that produce your body Qi. Big Qi is the ocean of Qi that surrounds us everywhere, that you tap into in the 0 point of energy in your heart and bring in the force of the universe in oneness. And doing this through love, action, dance is the first way I found out how to do this. Feeling abundance, compassion, going with flow, and it just emanating excitement is how you know when the universal Big Qi is coming in and wanting to be a part of you. It is consciousness, so you have to express yourself in a way where it want to be a part of you, and everyone likes a good party. Accumulate enough Force energy to do the job. And I also got, again, Qi, ether, quantum field mastery if you want to go into these subjects and learn and see an example of a blueprint of people using these abilities that are not fake, but there are, of course, fake ones. There are also paid disinformation corporate skeptics. The government does not want this information public. They do engage with it. The Russians engage with it. They had to learn how to do that back and forth. Heart. The heart's shedding of its skin and heart walls. It's like a love level up to pure version of what's needed to jump more successfully and with greater force. It requires a leap of faith through the eye of the needle on the leapfrog game of invisible floating platforms, stepping stones over the ravine of failure and doubt, of heart wounds. For those that want to go deeper into their heart, before they can, they must let go of everything preventing them from going through the eye of the needle, their source connection, their true self. It's kind of like an arches, symbolically in Mr. Schools, the arches with the sphinxes initiating who can pass through and saying who can't and who's not ready. To the luminous ocean of oneness, bliss, being, stillness, silence of the mind, and infinite wisdom just flowing that comes without any effort at all. And each time you wish to access this mode of consciousness, it asks you to let go of deeper and deeper anchors in culture, the ego, identity. That is a process going back to your original, greater existence, pure source, self. The goal is to learn how to do this, then maintain it for longer periods of time, and then learn how to continue it into waking state, or even go deeper. Eventually transmuting your body with source energy and being your infinite creator self. It's also the great work, your ascending timeline. Many words to describe this. The heart wall and trapped emotions forms around our heart in time of trauma. We put traumas into little boxes that we're not ready to handle so we can take care of them later. And they will keep reverberating through our timeline, asking us to heal them until we're ready to. The heart wall is you. Hug yourself. Generate love. Give it all it needs to become love power, to be whole. Tear down that wall into love power. Transmute the heart wall into love power and love resilience. Heart walls are also a good metaphor for what we're facing in the world. If you were to examine the concepts of both protesters and cops, there's a wall between them dividing them, and there's a wall around each individual's hearts that keep them from being able to feel and empathize with each other. You can feel some of these heart wall layers as an actual connection to something you feel in your environment, such as someone else that you're facing, that such as the wall of cops. If you're able to feel into that heart wall, see it as yourself, give it what it needs in wholeness and love, and transmute it into its greater state of being, the wall comes down and it turns into heart empowerment that allows the heart's light to flower out, allowing emotions of love to connect between individuals, to reach the hearts of the police, to be able to realize, we are you. Please stop this action. Let us come together and solve these problems, as an example. In the slides, there's like layers of the pericardium. They're metaphorical for many layers of the heart, and it holds water sacs that can be programmed as water, and some of our trauma will be stored there. This will also go into our auric field light emission of biophotons held in electromagnetic field, and is programmable, and this will hold negative data that we can clear up through shining that light within. Let out your emotion of love. Empathic abilities for all the empaths out there. I can relate. I had it turned all the way up, and it's been horrible at times, but also amazing at other times. And one can balance this to where there is no negative experience, and it's all love coming in with full translation, because that's what the heart and emotional body is. The ability to translate any data of energy coming to your heart and then have it come up as intuition, as well as understanding and knowing others deeply. Excitement, bliss help this greatly. Amplifying this as a part of your equation in quantum jumping, the emotions are very important. Bliss indicates how much charge and energy you're attracting to your field, which is why people seek out bliss and things that create bliss and activities and friends and the bar and music. It adds to our life force and extends our life the more bliss we have. Ways to cultivate this: breathe deeply, holding in like 13 seconds more or less, and cultivating it like you're creating a star in your heart and loving yourself. You can also hug yourself going into it. Self-love is the foundation of all, and even if you're having a really bad time, it will get you out of anything. Strong emotions make strong magic. emotional wholeness, healing fractures and aspects to our soul and consciousness, and separation is a good way to heal emotional trauma and where it's coming from. A lot of the things we feel are things coming back to us and integrating, or things already inside us coming to wholeness and working in a better flow, and it coming up on the dashboard of the heart like, oh, here, you're ready to face this now. And then you move on to the next in a growing stage. Pure love from different sources. Having these are such a gift, and as you establish more, the more love that comes in your life. Forming them for love for yourself, the foundation of all love. If you don't love yourself, how can others love you? Love from your source, your eminence, the source within all sources that connects everything. Lovers, soul partners, Earth Mother, other planets, stars, galaxies, universes, angels, heaven realms, love dimensions, wisdom holders of love, soul family, and other versions of self are great beings to start with in connecting this orchestra of love energy coming and going. But there is also love with strings attached, and so you want to work in a level of balanced oneness that does not have intention or seek to control, and not work with love with strings attached. And going into purity, oneness, source, empathy, love, connection through them, and not needing to go through the external means. There are different levels for the words love. Greek has like a bunch, but there should honestly be more. There are also rare DNA lineages that have advanced love technology that can amplify things as we go into them, such as like beings that have cultivated that their whole life, had a huge heart activating moment that changes the whole DNA and then pass that down. Even things we've heard in mythos, such as goddesses of love and things. Sometimes people inherit those DNA lineages. You can also look into the percentage of love you have for yourself and are permeating in love in your cellular being. When you're first born, it should be 100%. And if there's no traumas, and at birth there usually is, it will continue. But usually the traumas keep us from emanating that from our source of love, of coming into creation. So once we heal those traumas, it flows more readily, and increasing that percentage back to 100%. Resolving blocks made with your stolen authority. Barely anything can stop love other than your own authority, and if it gets stolen, then it will usually go into you totally agreed to make this heart block that shuts your heart down for a certain amount of time. Open your heart, resolving drama in the safety feeling. Opening up with confident protection and resilience as you train those layers of your reality to where you're ready to open your heart. Hugging yourself, giving those aspects of yourself that don't have love what they need to be whole. Every aspect of the universe externally that you hate, you also hate about yourself. Find those, use those as examples to find the parts of your body that don't have love within. Give them attention and fill them with love. Be a loving star burning bright in your heart, brighter and brighter, wholer and wholer, holy. Vision. Imagine all the people. Imagination, whole and pure, centered and bright. In this part of quantum jumping, vision is very vital. As you create your ship, navigate through time-space, have a quantum tunneling effect that brings you like a Rosen bridge. If you want to get really scientific with it, rose pattern wave fields are the best for packing and unpacking energy data in making these tunnels. And your goal is to create a kind of warp drive effect into getting you there, into that point in time, that moment, that manifestation that you're wanting to jump to for yourself or the timeline. Also goes into empowering vision, doing vision quests, training it. It's literally a muscle. Without the training the imagination, it gets weak and less HD, less bright. There's also wounds that will happen, like fear, and as we really face that fear, it will get more bright. Vision quests of you jumping over to timeline desired, and you playing out the various timelines aloud without expectation. Allowing visions and oracle predictive models of hints on how it will play out and the best actions and course for you to take as your unseen side of your higher self handles the manifesting in the background for you. And the slides go into pineal gland, that secret organ, the eye of Horus and eye of Ra go into, and the part of the brain, all these symbolisms with the pine cone and these statues, the ability to project from your third eye as if it's like a projector in your mind, daydreaming concept, and creating and programming that. A lot of people have calcified pineal glands because of toxins in the environment like fluoride in the water and a lot of aluminum and lead and a lot of things that will try to go to the blood-brain barrier as we eat those toxic things. After you're done with getting good with vision, go into dream technology and daydreaming things into being, imagination, envision and feel into the truth of what your reality dream as it is, and examine with emotional translation. Your empath ability combined with dream. Compare and contrast the dream of the truth as it is and the daydream of what you imagine is possible. The best version, purified, whole, peaceful, and love. Fade out the old dream, the nightmare. Reclaim energy from that. De-empower that from existing and bring that empowerment back to the daydream. Empower that. Start, once you've realized what the problem is, you no longer have to focus on it because you've gained the wisdom of it, the dark rabbit hole, the dark truth. Now fade it out of existence. Do not give it power and bring in the daydream with greater light and HDness. Brighter and brighter, empowering and supportfulness, and to where you feel it empathically as it comes true, to releasing until you release all doubt that the nightmare has faded in the background. Depending on what you're doing, it depends how much time and effort you put into this and how much blocks, literal doubt is a literal block you feel in your heart 360 degrees. And that bilocation of the vision, one fading out, one fading in, is this scenario. And there's a little description on how to lucid dream for people. It's mostly going into, you have to be extremely still and you're gonna get impulses to itch when going to sleep. Do not scratch yourself. It's the body asking if you're still awake, and if you don't respond, it will start going to sleep paralysis. And if you're still in waking state while it goes into sleep paralysis, you can more easily go out of body and even go into lucid dreaming if you're in that deep state of delta. This goes into some advanced stuff, so I'm not expecting many people to do this. There's not many examples of people that are activated into temporal warping, but there are many scales of this ability, so I'm not just talking about the full-on time travel. Consciousness time travel example, you don't have to leave where you are, but your consciousness can travel back and forth through time, and that goes into retro causality, retro psychokinesis, experiments that we've done at Stanford where you're able to affect the outcome of an experiment that's put in a vault, and the person forward in time goes back and tries to influence the outcome of what's in the vault, and it's been done with great success. Using timeline consciousness travel to integrate memory, having to do with time, the Akashic field, revisit, retrieve memory, experience the events. This kind of goes into, if you've ever seen Game of Thrones, the warg ability and the three-headed raven concept, that's the same thing. The warg goes more into you interacting in the consciousness of animal body though. Time, energy, and the time body in accumulation. Timeline transmutation, more abilities into that, and making it so that somebody's timeline, if it's being incurred on, if you were to see somebody that doesn't like somebody and then putting a bunch of vile energy at them carrying that empathic data and it affecting them, especially if it's a lasting wound. Those wounds are in the timeline. That's part of releasing timeline incursions until it's freed up and all the wounds are gone. There's also bunch of mystery schools into time abilities that I recommend if you go into. This is a very sought after ability that's one of the abilities that are most stolen, because the things dark can abuse with it. So it can really screw up the timeline, which is why it takes a lot to earn them. There's a school of reversal that goes into how to reverse events. I've even seen practitioners and healers go to the level in this school to where they can reverse blindness. The process they describe is taking somebody's timeline of a person's eye, going back to the original wound, replacing the timeline that exists with a timeline of preferred outcome where they are no longer blind, and it fractally changing the structure of the eye. Very intriguing. There's a practitioner in Israel that's national treasure that is one of the users of this. There's also no time fields, which you can create a field around you of separation from other points of time that can make it so that your programs, initiations, interactions with magic and programs function at greater speeds or slower speeds, whatever is needed. Like temporal dilations. Time vision, going into that, like seeing what's going on in the timeline. Going into warp speed has an ability where you increase how fast it takes to do an outcome, like magic. It's time healing, timeline repair, timeline incursion prevention, tracking things through time, temporal dilations, temporal compressions, repairing paradoxes, time tree branches of the multiverse, feeling into being oneness with that, being time itself, all time, no time, perfect timing and momentary being, and getting out of the future, which brings us anxiety, getting out of the past, which brings us depressing energy, and being in the moment where all time naturally exists, because it's kind of an illusion, and it's based on the rotation movement of celestial bodies. Oh, let's meet up next time the moon's distance in the sky or whatever, and a social agreement. But it does have an occurrence in a natural foundation of flow of how reality and events happen, and is alterable to perspective and relativity. Flowing into empowerment, balancing, and maintaining of time, fabric, and all around it. There's soft disclosure into these in shows like the Adjustment Bureau, Time Cops, many shows that go into like, oh, beings that have gained this awareness technology and are wanting to protect the timeline, whether it be through psionic abilities or physical. If you wanted to go down the rabbit hole of this and how it exists in reality, I put a little image there of an ode to Andrew Bashago. If you want to look up his research into the military projects of Project Pegasus, Project Looking Glass, which goes into a technology that taps into the residual frequency of the past and the potential frequency in the field that holds of all potentials of the future. A device that taps into that, they eventually made how to bring that onto a screen. They started with big scale ones. They tried to reverse engineer the pineal gland in a big technology that kind of looks like this rotating sphere that's in the movie Contact. That has gone into bigger projects, such as what Nikola Tesla did in Project Philadelphia, where he went into teleportation, which is also soft disclosed in the movie Prestige, and the military going into using that and compartmentalizing that into secret projects and not sharing it with the public. Reality warpers in many ways for that. And also scrying the old magicians of the past. The Magi would use like crystal balls and scrying bowls and other things to make a window of reflection that they could see into and program to give them data of the future or the past. Spatial warping. So the reality rules for the planet are interesting. They have changed throughout history. It was way easier to do this type of thing anciently, and then after the wounds of Earth, she shut down a lot of the bigger abilities from manifesting for a lot of people unless they're able to hold up the responsibility of it, which goes into individual graduation and them being able to have that in focus and be able to do it with enough effort. The reality rules will change. There's a thing around our culture where we're being forced to face our shadow and learn how to take our power back and freedom from things that we've given it away to throughout time, and release the parasite that's holding us back and trying to steal our abilities as a up-and-coming psionic potential species. So when humanity awakens to take off their spiritual and physical slavery limits, huge abilities will manifest faster in existence as these interesting children are born into this new world at a time when less things are able to constantly try to steal things from us. The healing of Earth kind of goes into this and her out of this wounded state, and again, like, brings the magic back. Magnetism in this ability feels like you're embracing, like lovers, your current of space and the space you wish to jump to in the quantum jump, and you becoming one with that, like as two lovers joining, and the removal of all doubt and limitation that show that's not. You can use action, ceremony, your voice, mind, the force, and unity with all forces in space to like bring more potential to this. Eventually, space reality warping will lead to things like teleportation, portals, dimensional travel, psychokinetic translocation, soft disclose, and like things like the movie Jumper or in the Magician's Travelers. Yes, we actually do have this DNA inheriting to us. We have a super technology that we've inherited. We've inherited something that records the library of every species on the planet and re-updates with what's on the planet. There's the energy that your DNA holds from what's on the planet and what your DNA lineage actually contains in physical breeding, which is a little bit more important and solidified, but you can still download also other genetic information from your spirit from other lives and change your DNA in the body with more abilities that you had from other lifetimes the DNA doesn't have if you don't have this particularly. It's mostly shut down, like inherited a Ferrari, but it's like got all these problems and engine failure and broken windows and slashed tires, so we gotta repair it, otherwise it's a paperweight. And some rare DNA technology also goes into this space control. It holds teleportation blueprints. What is real and what is not real? We only see 0.00005% of all energy that's in any given space. Imagine what it'd be like if we could see all of it or even more of it turned up. There are states of being that have happened to people where they are able to see more. What is real? It's like having objective, independent existence, authentic, true, genuine, in the right is the definition usually applied. I found that real energy is usually made up of source energy, time, space, life, light, dark, will, knowing, truth, and foundation base energy. And base reality is a big part of that. Elon Musk went into the concept that it is a higher likelihood that this is not base reality and that we're in some type of light holographic simulation. I go into the idea that even though this sounds like computery and stuff, the hologram of our bodies as it is a super advanced holographic quantum computer, and same thing with the planet. It doesn't have to be seen as like, oh, we're in a giant computer, a more advanced thing than that. And the same thing with the layers of what is real. It usually goes along with what the territory you're in. So this Earth hologram is less real than the solar hologram that contains within it, in like layers of realities within, holding space. And then the galaxy hologram within that contains that, and so on universally. And each of those has a form of real energy and unreal energy, and that goes into what continues and exists beyond what's in the unseen to the seen. We can earn real energy, realness, being our real self, being true to ourselves, deep within, going. You can also get more into your inner Neo and attempt to program into your base reality programming of. It's kind of like if you were to imagine the version of you dreaming you that came before, and as if you're the dreaming body for that base self, and you bring it into where you're more in lucidity. And what is lucidity? Seeing the truth, bringing things and making things that you want in the dream, bringing lucidity to this dream by seeing it as a dream, just with deeper rules, and it's more difficult, and many other forms of chess games that are going on that need to be. There is no spoon. The spoon is you. You are everything, such as with the spoon boy reference in the Matrix, the spoon bending concept. You cannot simply just bend the spoon. It's impossible. You must simply see the truth. There is no spoon. What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by the brain. And like going more into these images are the holograms of the multiverse, the galaxy, the Earth, the universe, the macro clusters, and how it kind of goes up and down, as above, so below, micro, macro. The brain cells, the neurons, look pretty much exactly the same as the tendrils of energy that flow throughout the universe. And it goes up and down similarly in the space between atoms. And it goes into reference for quantum computers and the potential of what they will create in new layers of realities and spaces of less real, but having a degree of what is real in definition. Being at the center of everything. And when I say this, I don't mean in the egocentric concepts of this. You want to be in your absolute center of your heart, of the center of infinity, within all, as if you're feeling into being everything. Absolute center oneness with everything, everyone merged back in time, one within all. Make a super unity remedy solution to anything quick. As an example, is what this is good for. Seeing everything as you, it does matter. Everything matters. There's a reason for all these things. Negative emotions, attachment, and knowing what's real, all these have reasons, and if you find out what, it makes things much easier, and suffering can just transform. What is real, what is not real? Staying balanced on your quest to find truth is how you go through this. Being one with Source, and when I say this, this is the nugget of truth below all beliefs, going into like why anyone would value wanting to be egocentric or feel like they're the center of the universe. Releasing the ego from that, seeing yourself as one. It's not nihilism and it's not solipsism, more expanded than that. And it doesn't allow things to like get that into a state of, oh, I must think of everything else as my mind, and so those things external to me are not important. No, they are. And they're not just you. It's like ultimately in energy, they all go back to the same source, but there's a lot of free will in between. They all branched off and wanted to be their own player in the multiplayer game that we're in. So allowing their free will and empathizing, seeing them as you so that you would not do them harm, which goes into how people that have their emotional body shut down and are able to abuse others are in a constant state of forgetting that they are everything. Everyone gets a unity trade, purity healing, if they wish to be a part of the free will unity in their rules and boundaries to that in their awareness bubble. Becoming one with everything. Become one with Earth, become one with the sun, galaxy, universe, multiverse, and beyond if necessary, depending on what you're doing, to unite all involved and bring all opposition, force to peace, to jump the timeline in an harmonious flow that's agreed upon. Be everyone, be all, in love, and its continued growth and expansion. Unity consciousness. And like I said before, unity is what true power is. I am all, I am everyone. Everyone is an interesting word if you were to think into what it is to be everyone. Agreement to maintain timeline factors of truth. All collectives united, unite in true power, release separation consciousness, lessons and events all the beings want to have agreed upon in unity. Unity consciousness with all in unconditional love, with balance, maintaining great peace, love, healing, detachment from beings in separation consciousness that forgot they are everyone, and degree of internal drama, war, control, darkness, shadow, suffering, overwhelm, and negative programs until they resolve them self and don't step past your boundaries. That's the thing you're separating from. Source energy. Everyone is all one. Source connection in your heart, 0 points. Internal power versus external power. This is the real internal power, but it's also external. But source is everything. Connection to source stream, source of all energy and consciousness, whatever you believe it is. There are many that will have different faces on it. And within that free will, it allows all those perspectives and in harmony for their expanse and growth that they choose. It feels like love, oneness, wholeness, being, knowing, truth, very powerful and also peaceful. Merging with source, let go of all that is not you. Let go to fit through the eye of the needle, like we said before, in the heart. Detach of all earthly attachments and suffering. Surrender all limitations and things that are not your pure self, keeping you from being everything. This is also demonstrated with engagement in source energy with beings on the divinity path. The words ascension or great work, Christ consciousness, the Devi, the divine, the demigods, deities and beings attempting in like lower G God form to be on this path, as an example. Not all that say they are these and gods are, though, so be careful. Sources have sources. Interesting concept, I know, but if you're thinking of the source that came into existence and it'd be under its goals of to know thyself and consciousness expansing and being all perspectives, it's also dealing with some interesting things it's inherited in shadow that's resolving, and abandonment issues from the source that created it that it's seeking to find, and kind of going back in this interesting space of what is real beyond words, really. Source within all sources is deep within you. So if you want to unify and resolve and bring to peace things, sit into that. Feel like you're the center of this big explosion and all these branches, including the branch that becomes you, the branch that is the thing that's in argument or competition or attacking you or whatever, and feel into what it takes to bring those branches to peace, into awareness and remedy to where they are no longer in drama. Going back to your origin and source is how you find peace. This has been stated by many masters of the past. It's shown in the many paintings of the light within the heart, such as with Christ consciousness, Yahshua Emmanuel, going into the I am and the I am presence. And here's going into something interesting, something that's possibly even older than source itself. Truth. Part of the equation for quantum jumping, bringing truth in, feeling it become true. Feeling what it takes to push it to unity, becoming true. Shining light of truth from your heart into focus to learn truth. I can't tell you what truth is. I can barely tell you beyond what is in this presentation. You have to seek it out yourself and know it. Truth doesn't always feel good. It will not always resonate with you. Truth can hurt. It can break through the walls of lies and dogmas that we're born into, and it can feel uncomfortable, especially when we've held such strong beliefs before. But these are necessary to face because they are some of the greatest growths we can have in the life. Emotions can sense truth, but they're not often good at it, especially with emotional data that we're holding on to from the past, coming in and changing the now. And this can be used against us to control us in a way and navigate how we react to things. And if we're completely at the whim of our emotions, we have chaos happening around us. And this is a form of control that I call emotional mind control. Emotion sensing into what is truth the best they can. If people are in emotional mind control, this keeps people ignorant because they have a hard time maintaining high frequencies of love against challenge and discomfort from energy of the ego and wounds that we hold and the ego boundaries that are programmed to maintain our bubble of reality, and anything that threatens that, it gets very uncomfortable. And only when we're willing to transmute that and be whole, to allow ourselves to see past what our ego and our emotions are telling us, can we see beyond these veils of emotional mind control to these dark truths and use them to bring us more into light. Belief that focusing on dark makes more of it. This has been permeated through the New Age community, and it's got some truths because in the law of attraction concept, what you think of and feel attracts more of it. People believe if you focus on darkness, it makes more of it. This is only true If you choose to remain in the victim state of powerlessness, to not be able to transmute the darkness that already exists within you, because what you're going to be feeling isn't necessarily the external thing and true beliefs and concepts coming to you. It's going to be something you already hold. And when we transmute that darkness we already hold that's being exposed by the external trigger, we release anything's external darkness's ability. And if it is able to control, that brings people to ignorance, to feel they need to bury that darkness deep down inside in hopes that it goes away, always in the pursuit of happiness and never looking at the darkness, which is necessary if you want to live in a world without suffering, without psychopaths, without rapists and people doing egregious acts. You have to face those dark truths and find solutions for them. Stress causes great evolution. Be okay with getting out of your comfort zone if you want to grow fast. Feel into reality in neutral. You want truth. Do energetically in background what it takes with your higher self and your source and the unity collective to manifest desired outcomes as true. If in alignment with everyone, feel into truth in neutral state of being. Of what you want. Feel into reality in a neutral state of being, not wanting something as an outcome, you wanting truth. Doing energetically in the background what it takes to have it become true, and not just you believing it. You uniting with your higher self, source, in the unity collective of the hologram to manifest that desired outcome as truth. And if they're in alignment with everyone, it will work. If not, then you need to feel into that closely and what it is, and then bring that to unity. Or if it has no actual authoritative vote that's in realness, then you can revoke it. Release all doubt. This doubt is an actual blockage. It shows what's holding it back from becoming true. Full completion of full effortless confidence and love while facing and feeling into the reality of the subject in present. Root, grounding, and anchoring in the timeline. Once you've had the setup for all the other stuff, bringing it in and lock it in. Root consciousness, part of our being that sets up for the rest of our accumulation of wisdom. The root chakra, the legs, those chakras, meridians, the earth, people call it the earth star, whatever you want to call it. It's like a processor the earth gives us. Our connection to the earth's heart, root and grounding tech goes into this. Anchoring in a strong foundation connection of this shift in the earth, making it real here now, adding real energy to it. Unity with everything to bring anchor to great strength. Speak to the trees. They have the wisdom. They do have heart telepathy as well, so you can feel into them and connect to their hearts. Practice listening to them, and as well speaking through your heart to them. Eventually you will hear something if you're out there long enough. This also goes into what I have in the background with the world trees, the tree of Yggdrasil, and tree of life, light, death, good and evil, different realms, ways to see things, and the metaphors of tree and the tree of DNA that we have. There are also the concept of those big giant trees in Avatar, and the red forest trees. There have been even bigger trees in the past when the oxygen on the planet was much more flourishing. I am not going to say if they exist on this realm. They totally exist on other realms though, still, and they're quite good at manifesting protection to keep them going. And they can appear to you in dreams and teach you well. Ask for your tree teacher to come to you, able to teach you of the technology you hold within to ground your whole reality. And then, once you've anchored all this in, if you have the ability to check the records in what is real in the Akashic, to compare and contrast what has been manifest with what you actually want and staying neutral, and looking at it from many different angles and ways to feel into energy so that you have the ability to confirm what you did actually made a difference and is manifested as real, not just for your bubble of reality, but is agreed to in the quilt blanket of multiplayer hologram of the multiplayer game of this reality. Daydream the information true of what is manifest and resolve any contesting realities. Like in the future, if there are things that want to come back in time and like, oh, I don't want that to happen, they try to uncreate it, concepts. In the Akashic, you're able to see back and forward in time and be able to protect that to make it stronger and solid in time from any future attempts. Let us unite to help the world and its people to heal. Thank you so much for coming. Here are my contacts if you wish to reach me. I'm at psionicleague.com. I'm also at quantumbusinessman.com, magicmiraclemassage.massagetherapy.com, and my YouTube is Psionic League. I have many different plans for the future. Explore, grow, make books, videos, make a school eventually with people, and expand into this. My vision for the future is a paradise in unity and wholeness and peace, with huge growth and everyone working together, doing what they love and bringing their talents to the world. And like if the question gone into, what would you do if money was no object? What do you love? Follow that passion. I also like to invest in projects to teach people psionic abilities to help this world in solving their problems they face and adding to life to enrich it. I love you all very much. Thank you for being with us. And here's a video about being alive. Thank you all for coming.
Feeling like a hero but I can't fly. No, you never crash if you don't try. Took it to the edge, now I know I'm never gonna live if you're too scared to die. Gonna disconnect from the hard wire. Time to raise a flag for the ceasefire. Staring down the hole inside me, looking in the mirror, making peace with the enemy. It on a wish if you want to. Open up my heart like a shotgun, blinded by the light of a new sun. Get up, get up, get out and get done. For the first time I feel like someone, breaking down the walls in my own mind, keeping my faith for the bad times. Get up, stand like a champion. Take it to the world, gonna sing it like an anthem. Don't tell me how it feels, I'll find